Everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make an art journal out of a paper bag. You heard me, out of a paper bag that I got from the pharmacy. So here's kind of a sneak peek of the cute little mini journal that we're going to make. And we are going to use 3 colors. Basically they're primary colors with a little bit of a twist. 2 stencils, both from the Crafter's Workshop and both favorites that I have used again and again. And a mark making tool that I got from a dollar store. Along with, I'm going to use my Pet Talk sentiment pack. So let's get started. Here's the paper bag that I got from the pharmacy. I can't tell you how many of these have come into the house every time I say, oh, I should be able to use this. Then I don't use it. It ends up in the recycle bin. But this time, I'm determined to use it. So the paper on this isn't that sturdy. So what I recommend is that you give it a good couple coats of gesso. Now gesso is going to prime the surface and sturdy it up so it takes the medium that you have. The quickest way I know of getting the gesso on there is to brayer it on. This is the 2.5 inch Ranger brayer. I love it. It works. I've given it both sides, all sides, a double coat of this. Now, because it's a paper bag and it's less than an ideal, perfectly perfect substrate, I am just going to glue down any little parts that don't. Now this flap here on the bottom, I'm just going to glue the sides, and I'm just using a glue stick from Staples, and that's making a little bit of a pocket that I can hide something in. Don't know if I'm going to, but like that option. Then I'm going to fold this over using a key card to get a nice good fold, and then fold this over from the front. And you want to keep an eye on what is going to be the cover, because you may want to treat that differently, turn it into a cover. Now I'm going to do a themed art journal, and I'll explain that later. So now we have 3 sides on one side and 1 on the other. So every art journal page needs some texture. But because this is folding into itself, I don't want to use modeling paste. It's a little thicker. Using thick gesso gives you that texture, but doesn't add as much bulk. So this stencil is called Stained Glass, and I am just using my finger and applying the thick gesso through the stencil. Now this is really imperfect. You're not getting a perfect stencil of it per se, but I'm going for the texture. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I want to put this on several places on the entire substrate. Now I know I'm going to use each part separately. I could turn all 3 of this into 1 art journal page if I want. I could also decorate each separate part differently using different colors, different stencils, basically treating it as a separate page. I'm choosing to basically do a masterboard on each side that matches, because I want to do a themed one. So that each page is going to be the same, but with variations. So I'm putting this in 3 places using, you know, different parts of that stencil. Now, because it's white on white, but you can see the shine and you can see that that's there. So once that side is completely dry, I am now using the thick gesso through this stencil, which I believe is called Screen View, one of my favorites. I love these little boxes, and I'm putting this on each one. Now I'm keeping this to 2 stencils because I don't want to get too busy. I'm going to use lots of colors. Now this is clearly a line decor stamp, and these are presently on sale at Ninny's Napkins at this time for a great deal. Now yes, it's huge. This is 12 by 12, and I put it in this plastic pocket, and I put it at the back of my IKEA cart with all my stamps, so it works really well. Now this is all different types of script. It's called handwritten note. I'm brayering on black acrylic paint, again with that 2.5 Ranger brayer, and I'll put a link to that in my Amazon links down below if you want to check it out. I believe it's also available at NINNYSNAPKINS.com. So I'm just going to stamp. Now this 12 by 12 stamp, it's on an acetate, and that stabilizes it. And this is awesome. Look how quick and easy I get all that text. Now I love, the reason I got this is because it's so hard to find different size text. Sometimes you want it bigger, and you can use this to stamp like I'm doing here in the background, or stamping on tissue paper that you can use as collage papers. So again, that side's done. I'm doing the same to the other side. Same but different. Different parts of it, different size texts or script. And then once this is done, I spray it with my Murphy's oil soap and dish soap mixture and wipe it off and get the acrylic paint out, and it's ready for the next time. And I'm just pressing here. Now a lot of this script you're not going to see necessarily in the pictures, but it's peeking through. And that's what I want. I didn't want it front and center. I want it peeking through little bits here and there. So we're going to use quinacridone magenta, Prussian blue, and Naples yellow. Basically, these are the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. And because they are primary colors, we know that the pink and the orange are going to make kind of a peachy coral color. The blue and the yellow are going to make a green or a teal based on the tone. And the quinacridone magenta and the Prussian blue are going to make this beautiful purple. So instantly we have not 3 colors, but 6, and then different intensities or tones of each of those colors. So if you stick with the primary colors or some form of the primary colors, you will have success. And you just have to remember basic color theory. So I'm just putting that all down, and I start applying the paint with my makeup sponge. I end up using my fingers and putting more on. I want to, this I call block and blend. I'm mixing wet into wet so that we're getting all those different tones and hues, and I just want this all colorful. Now the Naples yellow is fairly opaque, which means when you put it down, it kind of blocks out what's behind it. The Prussian blue and the magenta are more translucent, so you can see through them. You're going to see the script. Now as I go here, I'm keeping the colors really separate, and I love mixing paint wet on wet. I find it very relaxing and zen-like. But you never know where it's going to go. I'm just mixing, just very intuitively, grabbing this color, that color. There's that beautiful, rich, jewel tone purple, and I'm just falling in love with that. And the dark blues. And I was really mesmerized by the dark colors here. So because I go so dark, and you'll see what I mean as we progress here, it pushes back a lot more of that script than I would have liked. In my mind, I was going to see more of it at the end. If you use a different colors or less of them or less opaque ones, then you are going to see more of that script. So there it's making with the Prussian blue and the Naples yellow, it makes this teal color that I love. Now there's texture on here, and that texture just feels so good on the paper. It does show up, but I'm not really doing much to enhance it in this case. Because each part is going to be like a little mini page. They're not that big, you know, by the time I put a focal point on, but I wanted some texture in there. Now you can always use a baby wipe and wipe back. If it gets too dark, if you get the wrong color, you can wipe it off with a baby wipe until it's dry. Now here, that flap, I didn't want that white, dark white, so I'm just colorizing it. I'm just painting it inside and giving it a dry so it doesn't close in together. One side's done, we're moving to the other side. I wanted a little more yellow on the first side, I thought. So on this one, I get to do it again and try get something, again, same colors, but different. There's nothing more relaxing than finger painting. And when you get your fingers too gloved up or, you know, messy, just take a baby wipe or a wet cloth, wipe them off, and start over. But I just love, love, love the jewel tones that come out here. But as you can see, because it's so dark, you got that, you're not seeing right now the script. Up close, you do see some peeking through here and there. So I'm going to give this a good dry. And I actually left that overnight and opened the bag up so that the air could get in the middle. So here I'm just taking the makeup sponge or my finger and just rubbing some lighter colors over top of the areas that are textured, just to make them stand out a little bit more. And you can see how that worked. So I'm using the Naples yellow because most of those areas are dark. Because it got so dark, I wanted to lighten and brighten this up. So I grabbed this, it's a sink liner that I got, I believe, at the dollar store. I've cut it up, I have multiples of this. I'm just applying a white acrylic paint and I'm using this as a stamp. It's silicone, it cleans really easily, and I love this. I love using this on the gel plate. I love using it as a stamp on my pages. So I'm just adding white to build that contrast in and just brighten and lighten the page a bit. I'm just lining it up. If I don't get enough, come back and restamp. Talking about my favorite stamps, this is definitely one of them. There's texture there, so it didn't stamp so well. Came back and did it again. Love it. Grungy. Oh, love the jewel tones. And I decide I want to do some stenciling with the same stencils that I had. Didn't like the yellow there, so I'm using the quinacridone magenta and putting that in a few areas, and I'm happier with that. On the other side, I do go back to using that same stencil. I want that, there's texture with that stencil on the other side. On this side, I just wanted to introduce that pattern and add a little bit more yellow and brighten the page. And now I'm back with the sink liner stamp and just stamping. Now while I was making this page, there was leftover paint, I had these mark making tools and the stencils out, so I ended up using the same things and the leftovers to create another page. And so you'll see that video. Coming soon too. So you can see how each section is the same. Same color, same patterns, but different. So I'm splattering this gold with gold. You got jewel tones, and gold goes so well with those jewel tones. So I'm just splattering it with gold. Now, you might say, what would you do with this? This could be a greeting card. You could put motivational sayings on it and gift it to someone. Now here, I wanted to just add another pattern or some area of interest in the pattern. So I grab my Inktense pencil and I'm drawing kind of a wavy line through it. Then I'm activating that and adding a little black paint, just like when I shade with my angle brush. And this I'm going to use to set off the focal images that I'm going to put on each one. So speaking of focal images, you could use your Crazy Birds. They're perfect for this size. Now, I didn't tell you the size of my paper bag because it really doesn't matter. You could use any size paper bag. It could be white like mine or not. You can also use the cats. You can use the Julie Nutting dolls. You've got flowers. I'm going with the cats, and I'm using my Pet Talk sentiment pack. This is full of quotes and sentiments that go well with the pet lovers that we are. I'm using cats because I am going to gift this to somebody who loves cats. Here I'm showing that you can take the digital and resize them. So they're perfect for whatever substrate. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. So I fussy cut out these cats and I am gluing them and the sentiments down with my fluid matte medium. And you can see that wavy line serves, here it's like a hill, it serves to set off the focal image. Now because this is a small substrate, I don't want that much white on there. So I am trimming off the white and cutting up the sentiments however I see fit. And I want, again, something different on each page. So I pick some bigger, longer sentiments, some shorter, and then how I'm cutting them and gluing them down varies somewhat as well. Like I said, you could have each page a different theme if that's the way you want to do it. So I'm going to gift this to a pet lover that loves cats. Now you could, that center part where it says stay positive, that's the middle. I could have left that blank or put a piece of paper there and written a note. And then it's just like a greeting card. So once that's all dry, I'm going to edge the entire thing with black acrylic paint, and I'm shading. This frames my page, and I do that on art journal pages, I do it on canvases, and I'm doing it on this mini book. Then I decide I'm going to do some shading around the sentiments. And then I decide in between to separate the pages. Now if you did this as one page on one side and one page on the other, or half of it could have been a page or not, you would put your shading in different places. Now I'm just shading around each of the cats. Now I had all of this in my stash. I have these cats, I stamp them out. When I get out my stamp platform, I stamp out a whole bunch on whatever paper, and then I cut them kind of, sort of, and then they're in my stash. Same thing with the sentiments. You saw the package I have. I take the digital, I print them off. I print them off on different sizes. I could print them off on different colored papers if I want it. And then I have it there ready. So I don't have to go to the printer. I don't have to get out my stamps. I have some of these things just ready to go. And that makes for a quick, easy, or definitely a quick art journal time. So there we have the one side. Loving the jewel tones. I'm keeping the cat's white other than the shading. If you had a different color background, you might colorize the cats. And then I flip it over, and right now the part that I'm working on I know is the cover. So I put a little more thought into what I'm going to put there, and I put the saying, "I'm living with catitude." It's kind of like a title for the whole thing. And then all the sayings show catitude. Gluing everything down again with my fluid matte medium. And I'm coating it on top because that seals it. Now you might notice on this one I didn't put the wave, but I'm not done yet. I am shading it just like I did the front one. That's why I've sped up the video. You saw me do it. I do have a video in my collection where I'm teaching how to do this shading. Just search for shading when you're in my YouTube channel and I'm sure it'll come up. I wish I could move that fast in real life. So I thought I was done, but then I thought, you know what, I'm going to outline the title page with my black Posca pen. Now there's lots of texture on there, so you kind of have to be careful and work around that. And then I liked it so much I decided I'm going to outline all the sentiments on all 6 pages. The sentiments that are in this pet talk, while they're perfect to go with pets, some of them also could be used with humans, kind of sassy comments. There's my little pocket, and there's the white inside. Now I decided that I'm going to glue these flaps down. You don't have to, but because I'm gifting it, and I thought, Now really, this is the first time I've made an art journal using a paper bag. So there was a bit of, I'm going to figure it out as I go along. But all in all, it made for a great substrate, great mini journal, and I can see myself using this again, especially when you can save something out of the recycle bin, so it's not going to end up in the garbage dump, landfill. Gluing that down there too, closing it all. And then I realized I didn't make the swoop on the one side. So I'm making it so no matter how you open the book, or which flap is opened or closed, they all kind of work together. And I'm just freehanding the swoop here, kind of around where I've put the animals. So even when you forget something, you can always go back and do it. No worries. At the end here, I'm going to show, oh, here we are, the whole thing. There you can see the swoop, no matter which is opened or closed, they all work together. And there's the swoop that works, and I've added that white underneath. I highlight it with white, and I like that. It showed up all the more. And there it connects. Hands up if you'd like to receive something like this. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you create an art journal out of a paper bag. If you do, be sure to let me know in my Facebook group. Until next time, go get creative.